to The Break Room, the podcast where the best work convos happen. We're joined today by your hosts, including workplace psychologist Maria,
Hi.
your favorite Gen Z colleague Jhea,
Hello.
and your podcast producer Isle. That's myself. Today's episode, we'll be talking about career FOMO. So, what is career FOMO? Career FOMO, or the fear of missing out if you spell out FOMO, is missing out on professional opportunities. It is the anxiety that arises from comparing your career path to others, feeling left behind, or fearing that you aren't progressing as you should be. Maybe it's scrolling through LinkedIn and seeing people your age getting promoted, traveling for work, or launching their own businesses. Or maybe it's hearing your coworkers brag about side hustles and opportunities that make you question if you're doing enough. In this episode, we'll unpack why career FOMO happens, how social media and comparison fuel our FOMO, and the psychology behind why it hits so hard. We'll also share our own experiences, dive into how Gen Z and other generations view success differently, and give you our practical strategies on how to reframe FOMO. So let's dive into it. Okay, so now that we've set the scene and we all have a clear understanding of what career FOMO is, let's kick things off with a roundtable question. So, to everybody in the episode, have you ever felt career FOMO scrolling through LinkedIn or seeing what your friends are up to or your peers? Jaya, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, for sure. I felt it most around 2 years into working. I started working when I was still a student. And so when I was still fresh out of school, I remember thinking that, oh, am I behind? Like it wasn't even just about what other people were doing. I felt like I was in competition with myself because I had these standards in my head of where I thought I should be by a certain age. And when things don't really turn out the way I wanted, it kind of messed with me. And so when I look back, I think that time I made my job my whole identity. There was like a blur line between my work and my personal life, and I just like focused on working so much that it felt like if I wasn't constantly achieving something, then I wasn't enough. But over time, I learned that's not how it should be. I realized that everyone's path is different and there's so much more to life than just dedicating myself entirely to work. And once I let go of that mindset, I started to feel a lot more grounded. So yeah, back then I felt it more, but then I think as the years pass, I've like tried to balance it and don't feel it as much anymore. How about you, Al?
Yeah, I feel the same way, absolutely, about experiencing career FOMO. And I feel like I even felt it way back, even in college, because I remember at that time when I was scrolled through Instagram, there were these 16-year-olds becoming millionaires because they were streamers or content creators or like influencers or something. And then after graduating, I saw my peers traveling for work. Some even bought their own condos. And as much as people like to say that life's not a race, it definitely does feel like it sometimes. And that's kind of hard to battle, especially if you're experiencing it in the moment. And I feel like it's hard not to compare because culturally it also feels like we're defined by our successes. So you can never avoid a conversation, especially I guess with other people or maybe even relatives where maybe someone they know or someone in the family or just like a common friend lost their job or they haven't been working, and then there would be like this gossip about like they're such a bum or they're this and that. But then if also somebody else experiences a lot of success, they're like, oh, that's so nice of them to finally have a car. Or so it's hard not to compare, especially because that's what it feels like, is we're being defined by our successes. And however, I think over time, for me personally, I like to claim that I've grown to mature. How I thought in my early 20s, even though I was so young, inexperienced, I only felt like I was behind. But now that I'm entering my late 20s, I feel like I'm just getting started. So I feel that there's a shift in mindset. And now I just feel like, like in a TV show, there's a new series. at the beginning of my TV series, I felt like I was behind. But now that I'm like a few episodes or series in, I'm like, oh, this is just getting started. Like the show's just getting started. What am I feeling so behind for? Like over nothing. I do acknowledge that it is like a cultural thing and a societal pressure, but at the same time, I also feel like it ultimately leads to the mindset that you have towards it. So that's how I feel about FOMO. How about you, Maria? What are your thoughts?
I really love your analogy of, using seeing your life as a TV show and how you helped to tweak it and say that, hey, it's really just at the start, right? Because I don't envy your generation because when I grew up, so me again and my old age, when I was in the university, it was Facebook was just launched. Can you imagine that? So it was just launched, and then it took a while before it was available for in Singapore. So I didn't have Instagram, Facebook, and all that to really compare or to see, how other people are better than me. So I guess it happened to me, but I think it's a lot lesser than what your generations or the younger generations have to go through. So for me, it's not really LinkedIn, but I think I was still comparing myself to my friends after graduation, and it didn't help that my first job was in a nonprofit organization. So can you imagine that, right? Nonprofit organization, the pay is I could survive on the pay, but it's not that fantastic. And then my friends from the same university, the same cohort but different majors, they're working in the bank and they're living in a high life. And that although I love my job, I really love like doing psychology and counseling and all this, but I couldn't help but see like, oh my gosh, like, did I make the mistake? Like, they're having a good life, and why am I here suffering? Okay, I'm being dramatic. It's not really suffering, but you get the point, right? Like you see success in them, and then you just compare it to where you are, and that was really difficult for me. So that's definitely a career FOMO for me when I first started.
Yeah, that's so interesting that you mentioned that you're not like you don't envy our generation because it's so exposed to social media, but also hearing your end of it that there was even the lack of social media, there still is envy towards peers. And I think that's something that's I'm not sure. Maybe it's like inherently. I'm not a psychologist, but like you can correct me. You can correct me if I'm wrong. But like there's inherently the existence of envy, no matter what stage you are in life, and no matter what generation you're in, whether there's the lack of cell phones or not, it's there and like it exists. And so
It's definitely there. It exists for sure.
yeah, and yeah. Sorry, did you want to say something, Jaya?
Yeah, just to add with what you said, Al, that it's like part of the culture because I realize now that it's so different with Asian culture because like growing up with the elder generation, the parents like there's like a fixed like success, like a blueprint for success, like getting a stable job, buying a house at the age of this and that, having your firstborn at the age of this and that, getting married. Like there's so many specific standards that they've set like for everyone to follow. But then I realized that if we look like outside of Asia, like in Europe, at the age of 30, they're still like finishing their studies. At 30, they would change their career path. Some of them just started their first job that they actually like. And so I realized that it's so different. And like, yeah, there's no specific timeline that we need to follow.
Yeah, and to just add to the cultural context, right? Like in Singapore, success used to be defined by the five C's. So this is my generation, right? So it's a five C's are cash, car, credit card, condominium, and a country club. So these are the things that people aim for. And if they have all these five, it's considered as a success. And if you don't, that means you're extreme cases like, oh, you're a failure if you can't have these things. So that's the generation that I grew up in, and thankfully, or I don't know, maybe it's definitely different now. Hopefully for the better, but that is the cultural context that we each have to go through and deal with.
Yeah, that's so funny. The five C's. That's in my brain now. I'm like, hmm.
Thankfully not applicable anymore, but I'm pretty sure there are other things that people aim for. Yeah.
Yeah, that's really interesting. And so that's our whole take on it. Like that's all of our experiences that we discussed. But but now I want to bring the psychology behind this. And so we want to dissect why this happens. And so Maria being our expert workplace psychologist in the episode, we want to know what's happening psychologically when we feel FOMO. Why does comparison get so hard when you're at that moment?
All right. So there are actually many key psychological drivers, right, that influences the way that we feel and what cause career FOMO. And the first one would be the self-doubt and this negative self-belief that we have towards ourselves. And if someone actually feel like they're not good enough, seeing other people doing well, the achievement that is on LinkedIn, IG, TikTok, and all this can intensify your insecurities. And that would be the first one, right? They don't trust their own path or constantly question their decisions due to the self-doubt and the negative self-belief. And the second one could be just an identity diffusion and quoting again and linking back to Erik Erikson's life stages, where young adults are still searching, right, for their own identity information, and the definition of success or what you need to do can be different. And if you see people online, showing off or showing their success, then it can make people question their own path. Just like me, when I first started off, I think I have a good path. I knew what I wanted, but even then I still felt that maybe I was on the wrong path because seeing the success of my friends and the money that they gained. So for me, it was really just a financial success that contributed to the career FOMO. And the third one, which I think would help you, Al, you were asking, right, whether this is like something that just started now or has it been forever? Well, there's a study and a theory called the social comparison theory. Then this is by Festinger, and this is from 1954, way before any of us were born, right? And they said that, well, in this theory, it helps explain that human beings, that we all evaluate ourselves by comparing ourselves to other people, especially the peers that we have. And this is normal. We do it all the time because we get information about ourselves, how well we're doing by looking at how other people are doing. And there are two types of comparison. One is called downward comparison, and the other one is the upward comparison. And downward happens when we compare ourselves to someone who is doing worse than us. So imagine, right? For example, we got a B minus on our exam. Is B minus good or bad, Jhea? Is it B minus something good or bad?
No, I don't know.
All right, so it's a no for Jhea. And Al, what about you?
I think with Asian standards, it sounds bad as well.
Okay, so I guess it sounds a bit bad, right? But if our classmate got a C minus, at least we feel, and then we're comparing ourselves to our classmate, we say that, wow, at least we're not the worst off. At least there's someone worse than us. And that helped us to feel better about ourselves. Although we're not like the best or anything, we got a C, a B minus, but someone else got a C. We felt better. So that is what downward social comparison do. Now, on the other hand, upward comparison is comparing ourselves to those who are doing better. Okay, so better than us. Then this can be good in a way because we want to be better. We want to compare ourselves to other people because it helps to motivate us. And if we see our friends doing better, we probably say like, hey, if my friend can do that, I can do it too. So that's a good side. That's a bright side of upward social comparison. The downside, the negative part of this is that we can feel inadequate or be left behind. And I guess that's where the career FOMO come in, that although we're doing objectively well, and I'm pretty sure all of us here, the three of us, weren't doing that shabby. We're doing quite well. And however, by seeing the posts on LinkedIn, Instagram, and all these success stories of other people, it amplifies a curated wins, a success that sometimes it's really hard for us to get, right? Like all the different wins, the promotion, starting your own business, having your car, having your own condo, five C's. That's from like, from my generation. So it's not an easy thing. So that's the upward social comparison. And to answer Al, you were saying like, why is it so painful? I would use the word painful, right? To see other people. Let me share another theory, and that's like the psychological part, right? That I want to just tie it in, and then it's not me. I didn't create these theories or study, but this is called the self-evaluation maintenance model, and this is by a study by Tesser and started in 1988, and we call it the amplifier. Okay. So what this says is that it builds on the social comparison. And the critical point that this particular model focus on is that the pain of comparing yourself, right, to other people increases when the person is close to you and if the domain is relevant. So for example, if it's your friend who's doing well, then that person is close, right? And if it is in a domain that is relevant to you, perhaps you guys are in the same line of work, then you would feel more of that pain. And that pain could come out in emotions of jealousy, envy, or just really overall negative emotions. So career FOMO in this case would be strongest if you are comparing yourself to former classmates. And that's what I hear Al and Jhea, you are also mentioning, right? Comparing yourself and seeing other people moving faster than you, or a colleague or friend switching to a better role, or someone with a similar background to you with a skill set that helped to launch a successful business. All of these can be very painful. And if, let's just say, it's a random stranger, you don't know them, I'm pretty sure you can detach yourself emotionally from them. But if it's your friend, you'll be like, oh gosh, there you go. The person is like doing so much better. And now, if I can add in another layer of self-doubt, which I shared with you earlier, right? Then the FOMO becomes internalized. If other people are better than me, then why haven't I done the same thing? Maybe I'm falling behind. I'm a failure, right? I have chosen the wrong path. I am not good enough. And all of these could contribute to even more negative internalization of ourselves. And even high performers, I have to say, can even go into overthinking, job hopping, or anxiety just simply from comparing ourselves too much to other people and setting or seeing a different standard of success that may not be relevant to us, but somehow it affected us in the way that it shouldn't affect us. I hope this explains to you, Al, on why it's so painful sometimes.
Yeah, no, this makes so much sense because the moment you talked about like the comparing yourself to someone within sort of the same background as you, if you're ever in the same line of work, things like that. And it made so much sense because, like, example, one of my hobbies outside of work is social media. And so usually with social media, it's like the width of success is the amount of followers you have, the likes and the engagement. And I saw like one of my former classmates do kind of they're not that creative in terms of the videos, but they upload so consistently and they have a following. And so I in that moment I was like, I edit so much better, but why am I not gaining these followers? And then like that person is posting more consistently, but they're gaining a lot of followers. And so there was like a blip in time where I was like, I was kind of questioning things. And everything that you mentioned there, it made so much sense because I was like, oh yeah, I also kind of felt that. I didn't understand what I felt at that time, but
Mm-hmm.
that's exactly how it felt because it was like we both come from we were both classmates at some point, and then it didn't seem like they had an interest with social media back when we were in school together. But now, like years later, we have this same interest. And now one person is kind of performing better than the other. And so I totally see the psychology behind that. And um, I guess it's not, I guess it's easy to say now, but then it doesn't feel like a personal thing, but more of like what you realize and how you reposition your mindset towards it. It's like, oh yeah, you shouldn't really kind of dismiss the hard work that they do with their videos. But just that, I guess the metrics of success is kind of what bothers a person, and so that applies, I think, to everybody and where they come from in terms of FOMO and why they're feeling that way. And so it completely makes sense. And yeah,
Yeah.
thanks for explaining that.
Yep. So once again, right, if it is close to you, so a friend, and then the domain is the same, which is social media, then it hurts more, right? That negative feeling. However, if it's your friend who's a, let's just say, a lawyer or a teacher, and then they win an award, I'm pretty sure that you don't feel that much hurt or that much frustration because it is a different domain that has nothing to do with you. And you're likely to feel happy for them. You're likely to feel like proud of them. But when it comes to the same domain, and that's where LinkedIn come in, right? Is that it is comparing you with other people who are in the same line as you, which makes it harder. Now,
Right.
yeah. I
Yeah.
do have a questions for both of you though. If I can just check in, do you think your generation is more prone to career FOMO because everything is so public?
Yeah. I guess before we answer that, Jay, did you have something you wanted to share?
Yeah, I just like to add that, yeah, it's so like it's like I learned so much from Maria with how she explained like the theory why we feel that way. And I received the same question from my partner. Like suddenly he asked me like one time in like we were watching a movie and then suddenly he would just ask me, did you ever feel like you're falling behind with your friends?
Mm.
And then I paused and I was like, do I feel that way? Because I haven't really thought about that or reflected on that. But then when I was trying to think about it, I did not really feel that strong FOMO towards my friends. I guess my friends are also like chill and not so like braggy like that on social media. But I guess if I try to reflect, like we also had this classmate before, our classmate, and then yeah, like at this age, he was able to buy a car, and then another friend like had a condo or something. So it's kind of the same standard that was set like with Maria in your experience. And I think until now, it's still applicable. And so when you see your friends like accomplishing those things, having those investments, although car is depreciating, it's not really an investment, but still, if you see other people like having this, it's still accomplishment, like they were able to save that money, this and that. And so that's when I feel like FOMO in life, but not really in career. I guess throughout the years, I've already realized that getting promoted is not the like blueprint for success. And I've learned that there's so much to life than that. Yeah, that's just my
I
input.
like that. I think we're all laughing because, like, yes, indeed, like cars, right? Like, it's definitely depreciating. It's not like an asset that can grow. But, and I think that's also part of the strategy with which I will cover, I'll share later when on, right? On how do we deal with having this career FOMO, and I'll try my best to link it to the car and why we think, and then it make us feel better. So for now, let's go back to the questions I'm curious about is, do you think your generation is more prone to career FOMO because of everything is so public?
Yeah, I guess I can answer that first. I think for sure, I think it's more adamant now because, like we mentioned, those social media platforms like LinkedIn, Facebook, and even Instagram. I think for our generation, we mostly just use Instagram and Facebook, TikTok. I know some others use Snapchat, but for me, LinkedIn was almost like this far off platform where you post job posts and everything. But in the recent years, there have become influencers, like career influencers on LinkedIn. So even that platform is also kind of gaining those types of content creators about how to how to hack your career, how to retire at age 25, like stuff like that, like um all these kind of these posts on social media. And so I feel like those are the platforms where people like to post about their career wins and not just personal life updates. I recognize us as well that there's this constant need to update, or in other words, kind of maybe even boast about your career online or your success, your business, assets that you've gained along the way. And yeah, as I mentioned, like there are even influencers for the corporate world. So I feel like back then there's an existence of jealousy and envy, right, with peers. But now with the existence of social media, it feels like it amped up so much more. And
Mm.
with that, I would just kind of tell myself that, like what I mentioned earlier, like I would tell myself like life's not a race, and I try to comfort myself. But nowadays I don't feel that as much. And I feel like there's more of just this shift in mindset. And so I think that's one of the ways as well to kind of deal with FOMO in the moment is it's easier said than done, but kind of shifting your mindset. I guess it also comes with age that you're like, maybe at age 50, I'm like, I don't care what anybody's up to. But maybe when you're like in your 20s or 30s or like 40s, is there's still a little bit of that feeling. But I think it also comes with age and time. I'm just imagining that when I'm in my 60s, I'm like, "Oh, I don't care. I don't care what anybody's up to." So now,
Is
yeah,
it
yeah.
is it because sorry, like is it because you know what you want in life, or what about the age part that makes you feel more chill?
I think so. I think because back then in the like in my early 20s, straight out of college, I already felt like I was left behind. I felt like I was behind in my career. But now that I'm in entering my late 20s, I don't feel that at all. Maybe because I have a clearer vision as well as to where I'm going in life, and having a clearer kind of value as well of other people may be doing well, that's good for them. But if I'm not at that stage of life yet, then I'm not. It's not something to be pressured about. Like no one's coming to my house with a checklist of, do you have the five C's? And like nobody's doing that. So like nobody's doing that. So why am I putting pressure on myself? And that's just something I realized along the way. So that's my take on it. How about you, Jaya? What are your thoughts?
Yeah, well, for me, honestly, I'm kind of torn. On one hand, yes, everything is so visible now. You scroll through LinkedIn, Instagram, and Facebook, and you see people posting about promotions, new jobs, passion projects, and it's so easy to start comparing, even when you don't mean to, because you're just there scrolling, and then suddenly you see it. But I also feel like comparison has always been there. So even before social media, older generations compared themselves to others, and they still do until now. And a lot of the time, they will question your progress, like at your age, I already had this and that, which is just another form of comparison too, and will make you feel FOMO. And honestly, regardless if there's social media or not, there's always going to be people who pressure you to feel that way. Like for me, I worked at three BPO companies before, and some people, especially from older generation, they wouldn't really take it seriously. They'd assume that it's all about being a call center agent and think that anyone can just do it, which is not true at all. Same with working from home. Some still think it's not a real job, that you're just sitting in front of a computer and chilling and dealing. But then there's this misconception due to social media that VAs are earning like 100K plus. And so definitely that makes our generation more prone to career FOMO because everything is so public. And at the same time, there's misconception and misleading information. But I've learned that it's up to us not to let that get to us. We can't base our worth or success on another people's outdated standards or assumptions. And I've realized over the years that I realized what I actually want. And I just tell myself that, well, if I got that promotion at 25 in a senior role, then I couldn't have traveled the world and I wouldn't have that flexibility. And like, there's still a lot of things that you can do outside of those standards where you need to be promoted or have that business or build a family. That said, one thing that I really appreciate about our generation is that even if the like everything is on social media, our generation is also more aware of this. A lot of people are vocal about not comparing yourself to others and recognizing that everyone has their own path or timeline. And so while the pressure is real, I think we're also trying to unlearn it, which is also a step that like we're going in the right direction. Yeah. What about you, Maria?
Thanks, Jaya. I feel a little bit of a stab like every time you mention like the older generation, but it is actually true, right? And it's not just me. Well, for you, everyone is older, right? Like, and then my mom's generation, they would also say the same thing. Like, they would say like, at your age, I already did this and this and this, and there are two ways that for us to see it, right? Perhaps one, an upward social comparison helps us to be more motivated. It's like, hey, at your age, I already did this. Then that means you can do it too. But it doesn't feel good hearing that, definitely, right? Like for my mom, she started her own business when she was like in her early 30s. And then she'll be like, see, I can do it. I'll be like, but that's you, right? But I do see that perhaps that's a well-meaning thing for me to be more motivated also. But again, going back to the point that I emphasized, I don't envy you guys that you are living in a generation that's a bit more public. And perhaps you are older now, not old, but older now compared to when you were in your early 20s, when you were still finding out what is important to you, what is success to you. And perhaps you have more clarity now that help contribute to you being more chill. Not saying that it eliminates everything, right? I'm pretty sure you still feel that from time to time, but it's a little bit more chill that you sort of, you're able to remind yourself what is important. I just want to add, although this has nothing to do with the career FOMO, I did have like an IG, Instagram chat, what do you call it? Post channel,
Yeah.
channel
Post.
post
Yeah.
handle, right? That I showcase all my plants. And it used to be something before the Instagram, it used to be something I really love my plants, right? Gardening and all these things. And I had really nice ones. And then I started posting. And then I started to focus more on the likes and the people who have the plants, and then how many followers they have, and all these things. And it really reduces down my relaxation and the enjoyment. And in the end, I actually just decided not to like post so much because of the comparison, because of all these things. And it's really more internal. It's not like everyone's like telling me like, hey, you know, you suck or anything like that. But it was really just me and how I see myself compared to other people's plants. I don't know whether that sounds, you get what I mean, right? You're just like
Yes.
seeing the photos.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's actually really refreshing to hear Jaya's side as well as Maria's. It almost feels like the feeling of envy or jealousy or having FOMO or the feeling of FOMO. Although we get over it now, it might reappear again in the future. It might reappear in other channels, like as Maria mentioned, with the plants on Instagram. And so I also just hearing that, I feel like I'm acknowledging that although I feel a little more chill or laid back in terms of FOMO, there is a possibility of it appearing again in the future. And so it's just refreshing to kind of just have this conversation, know that other people are also going through it, and we're all just kind of figuring out how to deal with it in our own ways in the moment. It could be something as simple as like what Maria mentioned, just kind of stepping away from Instagram, recognizing that that's causing you stress from something that's supposed to be relaxing is now causing you stress. And so it's like, oh, that exists in your world. I wonder how it could come up as well in my world of like, maybe if I pick up a hobby and then it's gonna be a type of stress because I'm like, oh, someone else does it so much better or blah 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 blah. And so I feel like it's just a never ending cycle. But it also feels like there's a way to it of kind of, I don't know, maybe adjusting your mindset, or I'm not sure. Maria will get into that in later on in our actionable takeaways. But for now, just having that refreshing conversation we had, let's now play a game of flex or FOMO. So I have a list of prompts that we would either decide if they're a flex or they're a FOMO. So in each of these prompts, we're gonna be deciding if someone's post is genuinely inspiring, which is a flex, or secretly triggering your career FOMO. So, in for the clear definitions for this game, a flex is a genuine win that deserves to be celebrated. It makes you feel impressed, motivated, or happy for them, even if you're not doing the same thing. Whereas a FOMO is a post that makes you feel behind, insecure, or like you're not doing enough, even if you already know that it's just someone's highlight reel. So a flex is positive and FOMO is something negative. And so I hope everybody understands those definitions. And so I will be um, going through each of the prompts and we would decide if they are a flex or a FOMO. Okay, so let's lighten up with this game. Number one, posting just promoted to senior manager at 25 on LinkedIn. Flex or FOMO?
But
Flex.
I went with FOMO, maybe because I'm a hater, but I just went with FOMO because I can imagine maybe like one of my peers or somebody posting this on LinkedIn and I'll be like, oh, maybe the age feels like a brag. But at the same time, it is a flex that they achieved something at that age, so young and having that position. But at the same time, maybe how they post about it on LinkedIn, it's either a flex or a FOMO. I went with FOMO because, like, yeah, I'm just a hater. Okay, next. Sharing airport selfies every week with the caption work trip. Flex or FOMO?
flex.
Why FOMO again? Oh, you're gonna see that I'm just a hater in all these prompts. But I think it depends. I think in this scenario, it depends on what they do for work. I've caught other people kind of flexing that they're traveling for work, but they're really just going on vacation with their family and then bringing their laptop there. You know what I mean? So the context is a little different. I feel like some people want to portray that they have this jet setting lifestyle for
Mm.
work, but they don't. So that's why I went with FOMO because I've seen it happen. Um, so yeah, that's the hater in me.
No
It's just a
matter what, we
joke.
still love you all.
Okay, next. Announcing their acceptance into grad school while juggling a full-time job. Flex or FOMO? I went with
Flex.
flex
It's
this time.
flex and FOMO for me. Like I
Oh,
acknowledge
really?
that. Yeah, I acknowledge that it's a flex, like really a flex. But at the same time, I feel FOMO, like just a little bit because I feel like I think it's so amazing, like how they managed to do that. Like I have schoolmates before, like they went into law school, and then one of them is like almost finishing their masters, and I was like, wow, it's so cool, and like it's just a FOMO for me in a way that I start questioning myself, like had I started after, maybe I'm done, but I mean, there's not a strong like eagerness to do that, but it was at the back of my head that oh, I could have like had masters after I graduated or in some time. But yeah, it's more like questioning myself why I did not do it or why I didn't start or something. But yeah, definitely it's a flex and I really admire them balancing masteral and working at the same time.
Yeah, that seems like a recurring theme that we all feel is that we feel happy for someone, but there's also that hinge, like a small tint of jealousy of like, oh, what am I doing? Although you feel happy for them, it also kind of triggers some part of your brain that's like,
Yeah. So remember, it's all natural, right? For us to feel this way depends on how close we are and whether it's relevant. Mm.
yeah. Okay. So next prompt. Posting a photo of their new corner office. Flex or FOMO? And what is flex?
But
Flex.
Okay, next. Staying at the same company for 7+ years and calling it loyalty. Flex or FOMO? What is flex?
Flex.
flex,
Landing a cool job title at a startup but with low pay. Flex or FOMO? And what is flex?
Do they say that they would have low pay though? Usually it'll be just like, usually people just say like, hey, this is my title and they don't discuss the pay. Or is that yeah.
I'm not sure, but from what I've heard with startups, because it's not an established business, right? I think the founding member, like the founding employees, maybe don't get that much, and then they increase the pay as the business grows.
Hmm.
That's what I understand from it. But I went with flex because I feel like with startups, especially the employees who join that, I think most of them are also in it for the experience. And so regardless if it's low pay, I think if that's something that they find interest in and satisfaction or fulfillment in their career, I think it's a flex.
Hmm.
yeah,
Yeah,
I
usually,
yeah,
sorry, go ahead, Jaya.
I sorry. Yeah, I recall I saw a post that he's a VA and is working with like someone in the US, and yeah, he said that yeah the experience is really nice, but since it's like direct to the client, he like kind of declared that the pay is kind of low, although low, but although not the actual amount. But yeah, I think many express that they are happy to work even if the pay is low because they're still like they're in it for the experience, and at the same time they want to see the company like prosper with them at the same time. But yeah, I
Mm,
still think it's flex since I don't feel
okay.
FOMO about that.
It's definitely a flex, but I was just curious, do people say that, I have a low pay? Because that doesn't sound so much like a flex. I see more people like, yes, start up, right? Or they get to wear, I don't know, t-shirts and stuff to work. And then that's what they flex about. But no, I haven't seen anyone mention the low pay. Although it is true,
Mhm.
it is true, right? That they get rewards in other areas or a different way. But I don't think they would flex that part. Yeah, I'm
I
just
see.
curious on that. Yeah.
Right. I don't think I see it online either, but I think because of like our generation's kind of evolving, I also have a lot of peers who are very transparent about their low pay, and it's just kind of like an FYI or like an industry knowledge for everybody in the friend group was like, oh, that position pays that much from in this industry or blah blah blah. So
Mm.
I know that with older generations, like I remember asking my uncle one time how much he earns, just out of curiosity because I was like 6 years old at that time, and then
No.
he did not talk to me. He didn't look at me in the eye. And then I remember like bothering him because I was like 6, 7 years old and we were learning about the different works that like different jobs that you can get into. So I was just asking out of curiosity and he didn't talk to me. And so I was like, okay, I see that with older generations, they're not very open with money. But with I'm not saying that the entirety of our generation now, but I do have some peers who are very, very transparent, even though they're not earning that much. And nobody in the friend group really belittles them. We're all like, oh, that's interesting. That's just industry knowledge for us now. Like, oh, I see like that position in that industry pays that much. And so like it's just like a little FYI or like a little note to
Mm.
have in my mind. So yeah, that's it's maybe not posted online, but I do see it happening in real life. Yeah. Okay,
Learn
next.
something new.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, next. Sharing a polished hashtag Monday motivation post with productivity hacks. Flex or FOMO? I want to do flex.
Like,
Flex.
Yeah. Okay. Next is posting a work from home setup with a standing desk, ring light, and a matcha latte or coffee or tea, whatever drink you want. But yeah, flex or FOMO? I went with flex because I feel like this is something I would do too. Okay, next. Uploading a business card with founder slash CEO on it. Flex or FOMO?
like
Flex.
and
I went
FOMO.
with FOMO. Okay, let me explain my side, and then Jaya can. I went with I went with FOMO because I don't know if you're aware of this, but like in the Philippines, people like to use the word CEO so loosely, even though
Oh.
yeah, they use it so loosely. So if example, I started selling like thrifted clothes, I say I'm a CEO of thrifted clothes, like something like that. Like people use it so much if they start a hobby or a side business or something that's their own, they automatically call themselves a CEO. And like there's even memes about it that circulate on like the Filipino Facebook side of things that everybody's a CEO. Like people use it so loosely here. That's why I went with FOMO because I'm like it's a term that's very loosely used here in our culture. But yeah, what about you, Jaya?
Yeah, I agreed. It's so loose. And then there are some like CEO at 25 and then millionaire at 26. Like they would like really brag about that. And then it's so funny because there's this one post and then it got reported to the tax agency, like because they started questioning the credibility of the like the earnings that oh he's flexing that he's a millionaire. And so the tax agency was after that person. Like it's just funny. Like with social media, everyone is just using the term loosely. But at the same time, I think it's a flex and FOMO because I really admire the hustle. Like for me, I feel FOMO in a way that I feel like I have not been creative enough to think of my own business or a side hustle. And I think it's a really good thing because aside from having a full-time job, it's always good to have like a side hustle, maybe like rental or like selling products or whatnot. Like I think it's admirable to have that, especially in the economy right now. Like there's high inflation and whatnot, and so I feel FOMO in that way. But of course, it's a flex because like of course it takes like courage to actually start something and do what you actually want.
Okay. Thanks. I learned something new as well. It's a cultural context. You use the word CEO there. And it's not a bad thing, Jhea, for you to feel that FOMO and try to find something that you want to do to beat the inflations around the world, right? And it's not a bad thing. Continue to look out for opportunities.
Yeah. Something new, Maria. Okay, next. Announcing a speaking engagement, but it's a breakout room with 10 people. Flex or FOMO? I went with flex because I feel like you always start somewhere. So it's a flex for me.
It's a
I
flex for me and also FOMO. Yeah,
Okay.
because I I think it's a really good thing. Like I had this like batchmate. I think she's just 1 year older than me. And then she posted about being a speaker in their school and sharing her experience. And when I said I was like, wow, that's really great. Like, okay, let's say it's just 10 people in a breakout room, but being that person who could actually share something and make an impact on someone else's life is like admirable. And so I feel FOMO in a way because I wanted to be like I think it's just nice to become someone who like impacts other people by sharing what you're doing, like whether it's a work experience or like reflection in your college life and talk to the students. Like I think it's really good. And so it's a FOMO for me and flex at the same time. Yeah.
For me, it's flex, and like you said, right? Like everyone has their own success, and it's okay to post online. But I do have to say that for me, this reminds me of some people that I know who call themselves the author and a published author, and because they actually print books and then maybe just like I don't know 10, 20 books, and then they call themselves like the published author, and thinking back, right? I guess I would say, as much as I want to say it's like a FOMO or like they're just like trying to show off or anything, but logically, well, I guess it can be just a flex that they just want to show that, hey, they are successful, that they're doing something. And at least this is before ChatGPT came about and all the AI, right? So at least they put in the effort to write something. I'm not too sure what was it, whether it's good or bad, but it's the dedications, the number of hours that they put in. And I would say it's a flex. And even if it's a breakout room of 10 people, flex.
Yeah, I agree. Okay, next. Sharing a Spotify Wrapped showing top 0.1% most productive playlists. So for the context of the group, sharing the Spotify Wrap is like it happens at the end of the year where Spotify actually shows you like a recap of all of the playlists, music that you listen to, and it shows you if you're in the top 1, 10, 20% of if you listen to this new artist this year or if you listen to that artist last year. It shows you what percentage of the music listeners you are that contributed to their playlist. And so yeah, that's just Spotify Wrapped. It's like a recap at the end of the year of all of the music and playlists that you listen to. And it shows you the percentage of which audience you're in. So this one is sharing a Spotify Wrapped showing top 0.1% most productive playlist. Flex or FOMO? I went with FOMO.
Flex. I want to. So it means like this person has been like listening to all the productivity playlists.
Yeah.
Oh, I want to be this person.
Sorry, I went with FOMO, the hater in me, because I feel like there's a certain type of, I don't know, this the hater in me, but I feel like sometimes people like to over portray themselves as super productive. Of like, there's I don't know, there's this trend on Instagram and TikTok of like the 4 a.m. club. So like they wake up at 4 a.m. because they like run a marathon, and then by 6 a.m. they're making breakfast, and then they like to over portray this like overproductive day in their life. Whereas like normal people who have day jobs, they wake up at 6 and go to work at 8, and then the regular days go by. Whereas like these productivity influencers try to do 10 different missions in one day. And I feel like with Spotify wrapped with the top productive playlist, I'm like, oh, so pretentious. Like, don't tell me you're listening to that every day. It's so, you know how boring some productivity playlists are, and then you're telling me that you listen to that every day. But yeah, that's just a hater in me. So I'm like, I'm going with FOMO. It might be a bit of a brag about portraying yourself as someone who's overproductive or something like that. But yeah. How about you, Jaya?
Yeah, I mean, I agree with that, but I don't really like, I don't care like what they listen to. Like, okay, just do your own thing. Like, I also do that. Like, I listen to, I mean, not productivity songs. Like, it's just whatever playlist that I play randomly. And so I just think it's a flex because they're literally just flexing their productivity. And on my end, I don't really care. So I don't feel FOMO about something I don't really care about or I don't feel bad. So yeah.
Yeah. Good for you, Jaya. I'm just a hater.
For me, I just see it as a dedication for them to even land on the most like productive list. I didn't even know that like there's a productive list in Spotify, and I'm pretty sure in my wrapped list, I get okay, maybe Ed Sheeran or like, 90s road trip songs or anything, nothing dealing with productivity or anything work related at all. So I take it as it's not a bad thing. Yeah, I'm doing an upward social comparison, and then I'll probably go and try to listen to some more productivity playlists after this.
Okay, yeah. That's funny. Okay, next. This is the last prompt. Celebrating 1 year at a company with a long reflective post. I went with flex.
Yeah, but
Lex.
Yeah, I think it's a good recap to honestly, I want to see more of it actually, of like a good recap at the first year of your first year working at a company, all the reflections and kind of like the gratitude. I think I would like to see more of it on social media. I maybe I'm on the wrong side of social media, but I don't see these posts as much. But yeah, I would go with flex. Okay.
LinkedIn. They have
Mm.
that, right?
Yeah, I'm sure they do, but I'm not that active on. Okay, so thanks guys for the really fun game. It also kind of brought about our different personalities and our different thoughts on this. So we can proceed with our actionable takeaways, some of the things we learned along the way on how we handle FOMO, and what are some practical tips that we can give off to our viewers or our listeners. So I think I can go first, and then we can have Jaya and Maria kind of wrap up the psychology backed tips on how to deal with FOMO. So, yeah, again, like I mentioned before, that back then I would tell myself that life isn't a race and try to comfort myself. And I feel like over time, there's just been a shift in mindset in terms of how I see it. Instead of feeling like I'm feeling behind, I just think to myself that it's just getting started. And so just having that, I guess, a clearer vision, more calm demeanor towards life and the challenges that are brought about. I think I mainly attribute it to the change in mindset. So I think my go-to way to combat feeling behind is just kind of thinking to myself, what can I do now to make myself one skill better? Or what can I do now that can make myself one experience smarter? Shift Reshifting my mindset. It's easier said than done. However, in moments where we feel envy, like if someone else experiences a certain degree of success and a certain degree of like yeah, that the societal success is in those moments, I think that your feelings of envy are valid, but at the same time, it's no excuse to rid them of their success or dwell on what you don't have. And so I think that you may not have the level of success that you want right now, and it's amplified by someone else achieving those things. But I think there's plenty of time to achieve it, and there's no timeline for milestones. Like nobody set out that at this age you're supposed to have a house, at this age you're supposed to have a car. And so there's so much room for opportunity if you act on it, and there's also so much time for you to achieve it. Um, and so my go-to way of thinking is try to upskill, maybe try to move, try to be a little bit more forward at work, try to make a clear career path for yourself, maybe make a 5-year plan, explore a business idea, something that kind of gears you to the right way in the next 5 to 10 years, instead of just being on social media, kind of comparing to others, like, I don't have this, I don't have this, I don't have this. Why do they have that? Why do they have this? And kind of just like avoiding those voices and just thinking to yourself that you're working towards something in the next 5 to 10 inevitable, well, not inevitable, but like in the next years to come. So yeah, that's my way, is essentially reshifting your mindset. And yeah, how about you, Jaya? What are your actionable takeaways?
Yeah, for me, it's kind of similar as yours. So, yeah, first, like, there's really no fixed timeline. Like, we hear it all the time. But I guess even if we hear it so much, it's so hard to, like, really understand it and feel it. We have to understand that success looks different for everyone, and there's no deadline for figuring things out. And we need to understand that just because someone else is hitting certain milestones, it doesn't mean you're doing something wrong. Second would be to not make your job your whole identity. I've had this struggle like just after graduating. Like I think I became obsessed, I would say, with working. Like all my posts, like personal life is so integrated with my job, and so you have to realize that you are more than your title. Find joy and meaning outside of work too. And it's just one part of who you are, not your whole identity. And honestly, success isn't just about titles or promotions. It's about being happy, feeling fulfilled, and having balance in life. Third is to check in with what actually matters to you. Define success based on your values, not someone else post. So check in with yourself and ask what actually makes me happy right now. That usually helps you shift your focus and stop comparing. And so lastly, in relation to that is to limit comparison. Comparison steals joy. And so like we have to understand that social media only shows the highlights, so we have to focus on progress, not perfection. And I honestly believe that constantly comparing with yourself or feeling insecure about where you are is not a healthy mindset. If you're always looking at what others have and questioning if you're enough, then you'll never feel satisfied regardless of what you've accomplished in life. So at some point, you have to decide to measure success by your own values and not someone else's highlight reel on Facebook and Instagram. And lastly, I always remind myself of Kaizen, the idea of making small, continuous improvements. So you don't need big wins every week. Even tiny steps forward still count as progress. And that's what really adds up over time. So that's for me. How about you, Maria?
Well, that's a great insight. No wonder both of you feel like more chill and more zen, right? With all the comparison that you have perhaps gone through a tough time with all these comparison, and you have found a way to deal with. And my strategies are likely to overlap with some of yours. And I would probably summarize, right? Some of these point into an acronym. And the first thing that I would like to remind everyone who's listening to us is that career FOMO is not a sign of failure. It's not bad. And what you want, right, from it, because it is a sign of ambition that you're comparing yourself with other people, that you want to be better. And we need to reap that. We need to find a way to turn that negative emotions, the envy, or perhaps even jealousy into insight, something that we can use to turn it into a motivating perspective and to have a clarity of the goals. So for today, for our podcast today, the acronym that I'll be using is GROW, GROW, a 4-step mindset shift to turn career FOMO into clarity, confidence, and growth without burning out or spiraling down because of all the negative thoughts that we have. So the first one for G is ground yourself in your values. When you're looking at all the success of other people, ask yourself, is this really my goal or someone else's goal? And reconnect with what you believe is success for you, not anyone else, not your friends, not what is on social media, but for you. And don't go for things that just looks shiny or impressive. And it needs to be with your values. So that is G. Ground yourself in your values. Now, R is reframe the comparison. What can I learn from this? And not to compete with people because we don't gain anything from trying to compete with the rest. But perhaps taking a moment to find out, hey, what can I learn from this success of other people? Can I do something? Can I copy, not copy, but can I replicate, copy? Fine, same word. But what can I do, right? So that if the person took like 1 year to get there, what can I learn so that I can also get there if it's a goal that you really want. So you're turning that envy into insight. And when you feel triggered by someone's achievement, ask them, what's inspiring about their story? What is it that they are doing well that I can learn from? So we're turning that jealousy into curiosity. Now, many of you have mentioned already, this is own your progress. That success comes in different time frame and success is different. And it's about recognizing ourselves, right? Recognizing how far we have come. And even it's like a small progress, it is still progress. So own your progress, track your wins, big or small, so that you can battle the negative thoughts that you have when you start comparing to people, and remind yourself of all the growth that you have, the challenges that you have overcome, or the risks you have taken along the way to be where you are today, right? And bonus tips sometimes, if you are struggling with owning your progress or really struggling with finding out the strengths or all these, right? Sometimes it's good to talk to someone. Having a mentor, a counselor, or a coach can be helpful. And this leads to my last point, which is W, which is widen your lens. That success doesn't mean failure, right? Their success doesn't mean I have failed. And we don't want to compare and see the black or white. We just want to widen our perspective and how we see things. And sometimes, if needed, we can self-distance ourselves. And that is healthy. For me, when I said, shying away or like cutting off from some of these social media is helpful for me, and I believe Algu also said the same thing. And this is where we sort of distance ourselves for our own perspective, right? That if we continue to stick to the scrolling, sometimes it affects us and it's not going to be helpful for our reflections. And therefore, part of the widening the lens means to stop doing that, something that trigger us, but to look for other people. And that's why having a mentor, a coach, or counselor can be helpful. And also remember, Jhea mentioned this already, everyone has their own timeline. And social media is like highlight reel, that you cannot base it on your own entire storyline, right? It's not a full picture of what people go through. So live your life and continue to grow. GROW.
Thanks, Maria. Again, with the acronyms. This is the ninth, or sorry, this is like the 10th acronym that our viewers have gained from our podcast. So thank you so much. And I completely agree. Thank you to everybody during this episode for sharing your insights. I also feel like just voicing it out and talking about it, acknowledging your emotions of envy and just kind of talking it out and figuring it out along the way. It's been a very refreshing conversation with both you, Maria, and Jaya. Just like spending this past hour talking about our own thoughts, our own experiences, and even our own realizations have been very refreshing and useful for me. And I hope it feels the same for our listeners. So thanks everyone for sharing your insights and stories today. That's it for our coffee break. Thank you for hanging out with us in the break room. Don't forget to share this with your favorite coworker, your buddy, your partner, your sister, sibling, your parents. And if you've got thoughts, rants, or feels, slide into our DMs or comment down below. We're at iGrow Online on most platforms. And remember, your well being matters even between meetings. Catch you next time. Bye, guys.
Bye.
Bye.